welcome back to another episode of Two Guys with Questionable Credentials with Adam and Tom. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Life got a little crazy the past couple of weeks, and obviously you were gone, so I did managed to do a couple episodes with my dad to keep things going.
Yes. Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. But here's the thing. I mean, this is a podcast that we're doing for fun, and it's a good opportunity for us to kind of hang out and just talk about things that we like. And sometimes life gets in the way of that a little bit. I know I've been pretty busy with things, and Tom, he's been
Not sleeping
and crazy with other things. So, but here we are. We're back. Do want to give a shout out to the Mark, Tom's dad, for filling in, and not his first podcast. He's actually been appeared on another podcast with a couple guys that we know twice now, and he's got two podcasts under his belt with us. So
and he is very eager to come back.
Yep.
We talked about Spider Noir, and then in the last episode, we kind of just talked about Spider-Man in general, and then it just kind of kept spiraling into have you and Adam ever considered talking about this? Have you and Adam? Oh, if you'll have me back, I would love to talk about this with you guys. I'm like, I'm sure we can make that happen.
I'm completely open to making that happen. I think it adds a little bit of a different dynamic to the podcast and the conversation. So I definitely welcome that. So today we are actually going to be, kind of going off the beaten path a little bit. This is something that this is a subject that I enjoy because I've gone back and it was part of my childhood and stuff growing up. And with another movie, the second movie with this franchise coming out, it's been pretty much in the animated world so far. But it's He-Man and Masters of the Universe. And we just wanted to talk about that. Nothing specific. We're not planning on doing any kind of critique or digging into the new trailer with the movie coming out. But we just wanted to kind of talk about what's drawn us to the franchise, some of our favorite things. I enjoy it. I really enjoy one. If you're going back to your childhood, He-Man always wins at the end of the day, and the Masters of the Universe always come out on top. But when it comes down to villains, I like Skeletor. Skeletor is just one of those villains that he knows what he wants to do. He comes up with these great plans, and then he trips over his own 2 feet and is usually the cause of his own downfall. And you can't help but, I wouldn't say sympathize, but you kind of laugh at him because, for someone who possesses the chaos and the powers of that he does, he sometimes is quite the kind of just can't get his confidence going. And in the end, he just he's his own undoing, which just makes it fun. Tom and I were kind of talking right before we started. I really liked how Netflix picked up with their He-Man series. I think it's been a couple years ago at this point. It was 3 seasons. I think it was 8 or 10 episodes apiece. Don't quote me on that. But Mark Hamill, I thought was the perfect Skeletor voice with that. Kind of gave you a little bit of a taste of, the classic Skeletor take over everything, and then in the end completely screw everything up. Added a couple more dynamics. We got to see some things that, if you're watching the entire He-Man series as a kid, you don't really get into it. Then it's like, well, there might be something between He-Man and Teela, but finally in the Netflix series, it actually does happen. I think everyone out there, if you're a fan of Masters of the Universe, it's like, okay, this has been 30 years in the making, to see this moment. So it finally happens. You have you get a little bit more of a backstory of Skeletor a little bit in the end, and the fact that William Shatner voiced the kind of Skeletor's alter ego, before he became Skeletor. So that was actually kind of cool. But yeah, I know I've seen the trailer, both trailers so far that have been put out. The movie looks good. We'll see how things go with that. Tom, have you seen the trailer?
I have not. I actually know very little about He-Man. Like, I know He-Man, like, Prince Adam, and I know about Skeletor, and then it's Evelyn. Very
yes.
clever play on words.
Yeah.
My exposure to He-Man is actually all in parodies. Robot Chicken did one. There's a silly video online with the He-Man characters set to 4 non-blondes. What's going on? And yes, I don't have much to contribute here.
Yeah. Well, I know on Facebook, it's been coming up on my Facebook feed and Reels recently, but they've been doing at a lot of the. I don't think it was every episode, but a majority of the episodes of the original He-Man series, they have those kind of like public service announcements at the end, like, well, you saw He-Man battle evil today, and he used the forces of good, and that's what you need to do in your lives. That 1980s, 1990s, cartoons teaching us values. But I've been seeing these. Someone's been going out and redoing them, but with much more of like a funny, humorous adult context. If anyone has ever seen the Be a Man reels, it's kind of along those same lines. Like if they're coming up on your Facebook feed, you know what I'm talking about. If not, then if you start watching trailers and searching He-Man, I'm sure the algorithm will eventually get you there too. But yeah, like Tom said, that was right out of the gate. They kind of threw us a curveball, and then showing, because they picked up kind of right where the original series left off, with the news one that they did a couple years ago, and it shows you where the characters are and how everyone deals with Prince Adam / He-Man's death, and then Skeletor also being gone. The magic has gone out of Eternia. Everyone kind of loses their way a little bit, and then you get to see that's whenever you get to see a whole bunch of character development a little bit, because then you have Teela kind of go off on her own. She's kind of like a wandering hero, in a lot of the medieval tales and stuff and Nordic tales. The king's lost his way. Evelyn takes a little bit of a different arc, because she was Skeletor's right-hand woman, right-hand evil minion for so long. She kind of breaks out on her own, and you get to see a lot of the conflict in her, because she links up with Teela, and they're trying to save Prince Adam because there's a way to bring him back, and they go on this kind of quest, and you see the good in her, but then as soon as the series moves on, and then Skeletor and Adam are brought back, then she immediately goes back to being with Skeletor, and then she eventually takes Skeletor's powers when she gets the sword and everything, and becomes a champion, and just the whole lot of it. It was a very well written series. Kind of going back to Mark Hamill's Skeletor. You had a little bit of the Joker in it, with the laugh and little things that he brought to the role there. But there's one part that I particularly always liked. It's after Evelyn, she takes the Sword of Power, she becomes a champion, she has her own agenda on how she's going to remake the universe the way that she feels that it needs to be, and she's going to use the power to do that. And Skeletor, does his usual runaway kind of thing. until next time. And he links up with Prince Adam and the Masters of the Universe, and Skeletor's like, Adam's like, well, we got to get into the castle, Grayskull, and we have to do this. And Skeletor's like, well, what are we gonna do? Just ask her, pretty please don't destroy the universe. And Adam just kind of smiles, and Skeletor's like, oh my god, you're serious, kind of deal. So it brings in the humor. I know. I really like a good, sometimes, a movie or a TV show or, something that, it's dark. But I particularly like whenever there's humor that's inserted into it. Like, oh yeah, this person's about to destroy their universe and remake it the way that they want to. And then you have two enemies kind of like having a moment like that. Like, you're not serious, are you? Oh yeah, I'm definitely serious. It's like, but that's kind of what He-Man is. And you do have some of the comic relief. Orko, is a comic relief character. And then the magician who just can't get a spell right, no matter what he does. Yeah, He-Man, Masters of the Universe. It's coming out pretty soon. Tom, do you have a date on that?
It actually, it doesn't, let's see here. I mean, it says 2026. Let's see if I can type in.
Well, I could tell you the release date for the previous live action He-Man, and that came out August 7th of 1987. In case
so it looks like it's already out. It says
okay.
June 5th, 2026.
Holy crap! It is out. Wow, I am a little bit behind things there.
Well, so I don't know much about He-Man, but while you were chatting, I decided to do a little bit of just like Googling, and I found the original TV show. But something I found kind of interesting is, so composers for the show were Lou Scheimer, Chaim Saban, and Shuki Levy, and I'm probably pronouncing half of those wrong. But Levy and Saban are actually responsible for Power Rangers.
Well, that would make sense. That that kind of makes sense. There's a little bit of a crossover because composers usually keep like some core themes to all their music, and I could definitely hear that.
But then also, I'm looking at the cast list, and there's only 8 cast members in the whole show.
Yeah, and
it doesn't list all the characters, but like there's 4 that are in 130 episodes, and then one person's in 74, and then it's like 8, 7, and 2. Apparently, this show must have been made on a pretty tight budget.
Well, and I'm trying to remember back because it's like the toys that defined us or the toys that made us on the History Channel. And they talked about He-Man. And it was, I think what Mattel developed the He-Man action figure, and then they made the show to sell it. It was one of those, and it just became one of the best selling action figures and toys of the 1980s because of how popular it was. And then you're putting in the values and life lessons, the good versus evil. I mean, it had all the hallmarks of a classic 1980s 1990s cartoon. Like Power Rangers was not a cartoon, but definitely along those lines. Captain Planet, Thundercats, all those, X-Men, they all kind of were, very different, but they all were cut from the same cloth, kind of, so to speak.
I will say, it's funny you bring up that, the toys that made us. I never finished the whole thing, but, and not just Masters of the Universe, but just in general, it's funny how the show kind of demonstrates, like, if it's not for toys, things don't get made.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many of those episodes, like, I think specifically about the one with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how they talk about how, like, without the action figures selling, the shows and the movies don't get made, and then all the gross characters that they fight and.
Well, look at, I remember whenever I was a kid and Power Rangers was out, the Megazoid. The first, Megazoid that came out was one of the hottest toys that you could possibly have gotten. And everybody wanted it because it came apart and you could put the Megazoid together and then you could take it apart and it transformed into all the dinosaurs and everything. Like He-Man, there was just so many, you maybe if you go back and you watch all the episodes, you can maybe see where toy sales were starting to dip a little bit because, oh, boom, okay, we have a new character. We're going to call him Ram Man. And, and then, maybe that's whenever Orko came up. Okay, we need to have another character there. And then, the Sorceress. There's so many, because, she was, I think it was a hawk or, some kind of bird of prey, that she could turn into. Falcon. Probably Falcon, sorry. We can do two different action figures with her, and we could do, you can't really do who wants to buy a Prince Adam action figure? Because we need something for, He-Man, right? So, we have Battle Cat now, but yeah, kind of interesting. That's a really cool tie-in, because I just remember a lot of my childhood. The merchandising coming out with all the TV shows, the Halloween costumes. I definitely remember, kind of at the tail end, some He-Man costumes. But for me, it was like Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Turtles were the two big ones whenever I was a kid. Tom is going down the rabbit hole right now on Google. He's bringing up images of the Sorceress, from the classic cartoon, a little bit of the new movie, a little bit. The Sorceress was actually not that in the Netflix series that much because she ends up being Teela's mother. Good for Master Arms for getting it on with her at some point in time. But she kind of appears more of a ghost or a memory. In the Netflix He-Man's Masters of the Universe series, Revolutions, Revelations. So,
that's a shame. Sorry, so I looked it up because I vaguely remember what the Sorceress looked like just from things I've seen, and then I was flipping through IMDb to see who was playing who, and I saw Morena Baccarin, who's been in a number of things, Firefly, Deadpool, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm on board. But no, it looks like the costume's pretty tame, so, but, sorry,
Well, Tom, this is a children's...
Okay, I guess you're right. Well, so was the original show, wasn't it? And she's half naked in that, but...
Yeah, but you always had a character like that. She was not half naked.
Hold on, no. She was. I mean, maybe not half naked, but
all right. Well, I will not. Now we're going to stay on topic here with Masters of the Universe, but Tom, there was She-Ra. Well, so by the way, who was because that was Mattel was like, well, we need to get more girls involved, so now we created the She-Ra character, and then we had the spin-off She-Ra television show who had the Sorceress is kind of like the bridge between the two. And there was a She-Ra cartoon that was out more recently too.
So I was getting ready to bring that up was because I've never seen it, but I've seen parodies, people talk about it. I've heard of She-Ra, but I couldn't figure out it looked very similar. So that is part of the Masters of the Universe.
It is. She-Ra is part of the Masters of the Universe, but I watched some of the She-Ra series, the original one. I don't know. I'm pretty sure He-Man and her did team up for a couple things, but Mattel tried to really keep her they wanted her to be kind of on her own, and I think that was really to boost that product line, but also I think to really you needed a strong female character. And lead in a series, so they kind of ran with that quite a bit.
Sorry, I'm looking. It's about what I expected. So number one, it says She-Ra, the Princess of Power. originated in 1985 as a spin-off of He-Man and Masters of the Universe, conceived by toy manufacturer Mattel, of course, because toys sell. But no, it's like, okay, in her classic 1980s lore, She-Ra is Princess Adora, the long-lost twin of Prince Adam. As an infant, she was kidnapped from the royal palace on Eternia by the tyrant Hordak. Learns of her true origin, receives the Sword of Protection.
Yeah, of course, all of a sudden, boom, we have the Sword of Power, so then she gets the Sword of Protection. Oh, Skeletor's He-Man's rival, so we need to create a new rival for She-Ra. It's kind of like, not to get completely off topic, you have like the 20 different NCIS series now. And for a while there, you had Director Vance was the one that kind of held all these different NCIS series together. He was like the one bridge character. And you had the Sorceress in Masters of the Universe and She-Ra as, kind of the bridge character to make everything legit. But it worked out good because, the Sorceress was another powerful female character. So she fit right into that whole arc right there.
Nice.
And of course, she had her own kind of mini Masters of the Universe. And I think a lot of them were female characters as well. I think you may have had some of the Masters Universe that kind of crossed over a little bit.
Sorry. I know we're. I'm just curious. I'm trying to see if it says anything about her reception because honestly, I forgot about She-Ra until you brought it up. But just because, I'm just curious because how many times do you hear about the mandatory female character just not working out? I don't know if you ever saw it. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles actually had a live action TV show that actually originated on an episode of Power Rangers. And it was the premiere of the female turtle whose name I cannot remember.
I don't even remember that.
Venus? No, that can't be right. But anyways, it did not do well. No one, people were not a fan of female.
Well, I know. Well, going back to She-Ra, I mean, you had 85 to 87, and then again from 2018 to 2020, and then again in 2024, her evil alter ego. So, I mean, I think, the character was not as popular as He-Man was, and, they definitely tried to make a go of it. It's kind of like, you had the Smurfs, and then all of a sudden you introduced Smurfette. So, I will put it as we are not knocking on, adding in female characters and female leads or anything. I just want to put that disclaimer out, but it's just, how everything's kind of tying together in our kind of wondering discussion today. A lot of it, it just comes back. It's driven by the toy companies to want to get girls involved. And this is kind of off topic a little bit, but you go back to the 1950s when, Lionel trains, every boy wanted a Lionel train, and they're like, oh, we need to get girls involved. So they came out with a girl set. It was a pink engine, it was pastel colors and everything, and it absolutely flopped because the girls are like, well, we want what the boys have. We don't want we don't want a girly train. We want a cool train like the boys. So it flopped, and now, whenever one of the original girl trains comes up on eBay, it's like at least $2,000.
Oh. Just because so few of them were made.
So few of them were made, and I mean, they have done re-releases. I got a re-release from 2010, and that still, cost me a little bit, but, if you're going for one of the original sets, it's quite a bit. So, it kind of, the same thing. I thought the Turtles were good. They had April O'Neil and what was it? Not Velma, on the cartoon show Ursula. No, can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, you had a couple. You had some female characters in that as well.
Apparently, the character is still around. The female turtle. It says here that apparently Venus is widely known as the female Ninja Turtle introduced in the live-action 1997 television series Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. It says she is a master of the mystical shinobi arts. Unlike the brothers, she was raised in a hidden shinobi clan in China.
That just opens. Sorry, the history and political science geek and I are just coming out because you have the turtles and everything comes from Japan, and all of a sudden you're introducing a Chinese character in a very Japanese-centric samurai, kind of culture and history with the Foot Clan and everything, and God, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's also again not Masters of the Universe. We started talking about female spin-offs, and that's always the first one that comes to mind because even as a kid, I remember seeing this Venus, and I was like, what?
See, and I don't really remember that because I was getting a little bit older, where I wasn't watching the Turtles as much whenever that came about. Like, I remember the Next Mutation starting, but that's kind of where I cut off watching it, and that makes sense because you probably started watching it right along that time.
So I never watched it. Like I said, there was a show.
Well, thanks for blowing a hole in my theory.
No. So here's the thing. So it started because there was.
No, I was looking how much time we were in the episode.
28. Well, the nice part is that when we pay for this thing, we can. It doesn't have to be a strict. 30 minutes. We have up to like 6 hours.
Okay, well,
I'm going to cut this out.
Yeah, let's make sure we cut this part out.
No, it was the 4th season. It was called Power Rangers in Space, and
that's way before I. That's way after I quit watching Power Rangers.
It was like the 3rd or 4th episode. The big baddie is like, I need a team to defeat the Power Rangers, and she randomly just shoots a laser into a sewer grate in New York City, and then the Ninja Turtles pop out, and it's just bizarre because there's no real explanation. As far as I know, there's never any mention of the Ninja Turtles and the Rangers being in the same universe again. They kind of just show up once and it's never talked about. But that's my. Other than that, like that's my experience with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right. Yeah, and I grew up with the Turtles, like the original 3 live action movies. Mm-hmm. First one was great. Third one was my favorite. Second one, meh. As most trilogies go, except for Star Wars: The Original Trilogy, the second one was definitely the best.
Is it the third one, or is there a fourth? Which one is it when they go to Japan?
That is the third one. That's when they go back in time. I like that one. It had its. It was pretty funny, actually. I enjoyed that one. Like the first one, classic Turtles fighting crime, New York City, April O'Neil, all that fun stuff. The second one was whenever like they really started like. You had the mutagen, and then the Shredder was experimenting with it, with animals, and then he drank it at the end, became the super Shredder, and then they kill him.
And wasn't that the one, a friend of mine told me this, that after the first movie, it got a lot of crap for violence, so, they wear their weapons, but they don't really use them. I thought I heard that. Maybe not. I've only seen it once. But the thing that when the new movies came out, which I haven't seen.
No, I haven't either.
Newer, the live action ones, but
the CGI ones.
I saw an article where Vanilla Ice was criticizing the soundtrack. He was like, they don't really get the feel of the Turtles, and I didn't understand until I watched the second one, and they crash an Eminem concert and go ninja, go. I'm like, okay, fair enough. At least he definitely got the word ninja in there.
That's true.
But
so we've completely gone off the rails at this point. We started talking about Masters of the Universe. All of a sudden, then we started talking about spin-off female characters created by the toy companies to get stuff for girls and boost sales, and now we're talking about the dark side of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Eminem apparently being insulted by something.
Oh, did I say Eminem? It was Vanilla Ice.
Oh, sorry, you did say Vanilla Ice, but them crashing an Eminem concert.
I was just saying. I was just thinking. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to label this. I'm gonna have to name this episode like Master of the Universe and TMNT, I guess.
I don't know. I think it's like Masters of the Universe off the rails or something like that.
This at this point people have probably started switching off, but I mean, I don't know. I find like our best content is the conversations. It's not like rather like, don't get me wrong, I love the lightsaber video we did. But it's more fun doing the back and forth and just whatever comes out.
Yeah.
By the way, one last thing before we close, because it sounds like that's where we're headed. We've officially released 10 episodes. And if you'll permit me a minute to look, I think we're almost at 150 downloads.
Ooh.
Which honestly is a lot farther than I thought we would get. I don't know. Not.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after this episode.
Everybody bails out. Let's see. Yeah. That's all-time downloads, 145.
All right. So,
and most
help
of them,
help us get to 150.
And most of them are from Apple Podcasts, which is funny because Dennis over at Brothers Before Bourbon is mad at me because since he doesn't have an iPhone, apparently Android doesn't like Android and Buzzsprout, the app we both use, doesn't like to post to Apple on an Android device. So he's missing a whole market that he could be advertising to. I keep offering to help him, but he it just never happens. But
well, I think that's a good opportunity for us to come to an end on this. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in with us. This episode was a little bit different, but I think it's kind of fun in the end because how many conversations do we have with friends that you start with one topic and then it just kind of meanders its way through to a wide variety of topics. And thank you very much if you got to this point of sticking with us, and maybe you learned something, maybe you different, maybe you're laughing your butt off right now. The two guys who have, to a certain extent, have no clue what the heck they're doing. But Tom, why don't you take us out?
All right, so you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon as Two Guys Questionable Credentials. We are actually branching out here soon, but you can find us on YouTube under the same name. If you're listening to us on podcast apps, please like and review us. If you are watching us on YouTube, what are your thoughts on Masters of the Universe? And you know what? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I guess. Did you guys like the newest movie? Did Jared Leto continue to be the kiss of death like he is in most franchises? If you want to email us, you can email us at twoguysnocreds@gmail.com. And I guess we will see you next time. Goodbye.
All right, that's the show. Thanks for hanging out with us for another episode of Two Guys Questionable Credentials. If you laughed, learned something, or are now somehow more confused than when you started, then we've done our job. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend or an enemy. We're not picky. And remember, everything discussed here is just conversation, speculation, and two people confidently wandering through topics they may or may not fully understand. Please take none of this as legal, medical, or emotional advice. We'll see you next time.